What is good, y'all? Welcome to the first episode of the Radio Moss podcast. It does not feel like a first to anything or for me, because as you guys know, or some of you may know, I had the K Reviews podcast that we were doing for a while, and some of you who even know, even before the K Reviews podcast, we were doing the Music Is All We Got podcast. So, doing these podcasts, especially here in my room at my apartment with records on the walls and everything, like this is nothing new to me. But it's definitely a whole brand new series, a whole different rebranding from K Reviews, but it's going to be a lot of the same formula, a lot of the same style, and a lot of the same approach. I kind of want to dive into, what I foresee Radio Moss being and the specific series that are going to occur within Radio Moss. Radio Moss, I want to do weekly album reviews, and those can be either classic and throwback album reviews, or they can be album reviews for albums that just came out and are currently like a hot topic. So the series that is classic or throwback albums, that series is going to be called Off the Wall. The premise being we're pulling a classic record off the wall, right? But there's also going to be the fresh, like, new releases, album reviews, and those are going to be called Off the Press. So we have Off the Wall and Off the Press every single week on Tuesdays on YouTube, and on Sundays, maybe Monday, but on Sundays on Patreon. You guys are going to get an album review. It could be Off the Wall, it could be Off the Press. It kind of depends. If there's an album that just came out that I feel I really want to talk about, as far as new releases goes, you're gonna get it Off the Press. But if there's nothing that I feel like I could do a good, worthwhile, justified conversation about, then I'm going to do a throwback review, and we're gonna do an Off the Wall episode. But you guys will be getting either an Off the Wall or Off the Press on Tuesday on YouTube every single week. And for those of you who subscribe $3 to my Patreon, you guys will get it a couple days early. Now, that's not the only weekly episode you guys will be getting. You'll also be getting Off the Charts every single week as well. Off the Charts is going to come out on Friday on YouTube, Wednesday on Patreon. And Off the Charts is essentially just going to be like a ranking video. If you guys are familiar with the K Reviews podcast, which that channel is still up. So if anybody who watches this video and enjoys this video wants to go check out K Reviews, if you just search K Reviews podcast with Kenny Moss, it should pop up. And you guys can check out a lot of those old reviews, a lot of those old rankings. But on that YouTube channel, I used to do rankings, and so I want to do that again. It's just one of my favorite things to do. I'm a bit of a weirdo. I like lists, and so we're gonna bring that back. So you guys are gonna get a ranking video every single week as well. It can be anything from ranking discographies to ranking like the top 10 favorite solo Wu-Tang albums, to ranking my top 10 albums. If I want to get really random, I'll give you my top 10 albums of 2009. Like, it'll be whatever, man. Whatever I'm feeling that week, or even that day when I go to record. You guys are going to get a ranking video on Friday and Wednesday. Now, I can't promise that they're going to be weekly, but there is going to be 2 other series attached to Radio Moss. One is going to be Off the First Listen, which is essentially just reaction content. So I'm going to do those live. I want to find a way to where I can go live on YouTube and TikTok at the same time, because a lot of my community is over on TikTok, but I want to have the YouTube live stream to be able to post on my Patreon. But so Off the First Listen, you guys will get a 10 to 15-minute version of that whenever an episode comes out here on YouTube. And if you guys want the full version, the full reaction to whatever, the full live stream to whatever album it is, you guys can go to my Patreon and purchase the second tier on my Patreon, and you guys will get exclusive access to the entirety of the Off the First Listen episodes. Now, those aren't going to be weekly. At least I'm not planning that to be the case right now, but I do plan on them being fairly frequently, at least bi-weekly, is the goal. And then there is one other series that is going to be attached to Radio Moss, which is even more exclusive than the Off the First Listen one, because with Off the First Listen, if you want to watch the reactions afterwards, you do have to be a Patreon subscriber, but you don't have to be a Patreon subscriber to watch the live streams themselves. The live streams themselves are available to any and everybody. The other series is Off the Record. Now, Off the Record, it's still going to be music-based, but it's more so going to be topics centered around like music culture. So, for example, the off the record episode that I'm going to be doing soon and posting to my Patreon soon is going to be about all this debacle going on with Timbaland and Suno and AI artists and I think it's the Velvet Sundown, whatever they're called. All that stuff, I'm going to go way deep in depth, give my entire opinion on that. And yeah, so if you guys are interested in that type of content, again, you can go to my Patreon and purchase the off the record membership. It's $9 a month. I would like your guys' feedback. So if you guys feel that some of the Patreon tiers are a bit too pricey, or maybe something that's a benefit for a higher tier should actually be a benefit for a lower tier, just let me know, guys. It's my first time doing Patreon and everything, so I'm trying to kind of find the balance, trying to find the way to where I can give people who want to support exclusive content that other people aren't getting, but still make it so that it's not a ridiculous ask for you guys to be able to get that content. And if anybody really wants the content and just really can't afford it, just DM me on Instagram, TikTok, whatever. We can have a conversation, and I'm definitely open to finding a workaround for people specifically. But yeah, just DM me, guys. My DMs are always open. I always reply. I'm always willing to help. I'm always willing to mentor. Just whatever you guys need, do not hesitate to reach out to me, man. You guys will get, just like the off the first listen, you guys will get a 10 to 15 minute preview of off the record on YouTube every time an off the record episode goes up on my Patreon. So you can watch the 10 to 15 minute episodes. And if you're like, this is something where I want the full 20 or the full 30 or however long the episodes end up being, if you want the full thing, you're able to go to Patreon and get the full thing. And like I said, always just reach out to me and DM me if there's a specific circumstance going on with you. But yeah, guys, so that is the rundown on everything. KennyMossMusic.com is now live, and so you guys can go there that's where you can go to get to my Patreon. That's where you can go to explore my whole catalog. And in the hopefully very near future, we will have some merch up there as well. And make sure you guys subscribe to my mailing list, just so that I can get directly to you guys and give you guys exclusive stuff. Like, I want to talk to you guys. I want to get to know you guys, and I want to build relationships with you guys. I don't want you guys to just be, people who give me money or people who just watch my content and whatever. Like, I do genuinely want to get to know you guys and, build something. And being able to have a direct contact to you can make it so that I can give you guys exclusive or just personalized things. And so, yeah, make sure that you guys go subscribe to that mailing list. But that is everything. So you guys know by the title of the video and the thumbnail, this is going to be GNX by Kendrick Lamar. This is going to be the review for GNX by Kendrick Lamar. Now, this is an off-the-wall episode, even though this album isn't even a year old yet. It might seem kind of strange to consider it a classic, but Off the Wall I don't really consider as only classics. It's kind of just throwback reviews in general, so it doesn't necessarily have to be classics. But this is a case where this is an album that I believe, although you may not see it as a classic right now because it's too early, it's an album that I most certainly think is going to be looked back on as a classic and be looked back on as a very significant moment in Kendrick's career. It's a common comparison that I've been seeing people make with this album is people saying that this is Kendrick's Stillmatic. And I definitely see, I definitely understand that comparison, right? Like Stillmatic, even though Stillmatic wasn't in the wake of the Jay-Z beef, it was the heart of the Jay-Z beef. I still fully understand what people are saying. It's an album that is forever going to be connected to the biggest beef that we have ever seen in hip hop. And, we can have debates. Like some people might say Biggie and Pac, even bigger than Drake and Kendrick. I don't think so, man. To me, Kendrick and Drake clashing would be like if Mike and Prince went at it on the biggest stage at the biggest points of their career. Like that's what it felt like to me. And I just don't think we've seen anything like that, hip hop or music in general. Like, it was one of the most massive and just like cultural like strangleholds that we have ever seen. Like I think everybody and their mama was obsessed with what was going to happen next in that beef. I don't think we've ever seen anything like that. And we can have a debate about that. Maybe that can be a topic of discussion in a future video. Maybe we can do a ranking of the greatest beefs of hip hop history, and you guys can go in the comments and let me know, how I'm stupid for putting Kendrick and Drake at number one. But if I ever make that video, Kendrick and Drake are going number one. I think it's the by far the biggest beef that we have ever had in the history of hip hop, in my opinion. But yes, I do think this is an album that's going to go down as a classic, largely in part because of its connection to the beef, secondarily in part because of its significance commercially for Kendrick, in the same way that Damn elevated Kendrick to a new level of stardom on a commercial scale. This one has done that even more so. I mean, dude performed at the Super Bowl, and Luther has been one of the biggest songs worldwide for a minute now. Squabble Up was huge. TV Off was huge. Like, Peekaboo obviously is pretty damn big as well. I just think as far as getting Kendrick's overall fan base to reach beyond us hip hop heads or us people who really care about the lyrics, just Kendrick has touched so many new ears with this project. Like, there are people who have never listened to Kendrick Lamar who now are obsessed with this album and now are going back and looking through Good Kid, Mad City, To Pimp a Butterfly, Mr. Morale, all those albums that we already know and love. And so I think from that standpoint, this is going to end up being looked back on as a classic because of its impact both culturally and commercially, although I tend to not care about commercial successes as much as most. But I do think this is a scenario in which it is a viable, attribute for why this album, I think, is going to be a classic. Another reason why I think this album is going to be a classic is because the straight quality of the music itself, right? Like, for me, to reach classic status, there's got to be cultural impact. To a certain extent, there has to be at least some commercial impact. And then the music itself has to be quality. Kendrick is checking off all of those boxes here in a major way, especially, I mean, honestly, all of them he's checking off in a major way. But enough of all that, enough about why I think this album is going to be a classic. Let's just get into the music itself and why I absolutely love this thing and why I probably have a little bit of a unique opinion about where it stands in Kendrick's discography. Like, this is very quickly become one of my favorite Kendrick albums. And I do think it is one of the few Kendrick albums that you can listen to front to back and not become so, what is the word? Not become so somber or so overwhelmed with emotion at any point in the album. Like, this is an album where I feel like I can listen to in almost any mood. Even when I'm upset or angry, this album instantly finds a way to kind of pull me out of it. Like, I don't know how you can not be happy listening to, like, Squabble Up or listening to TV Off or listening to Peekaboo. Like, those songs they just pull you out of the funk. Which makes me think of the line that Kendrick says in TV Off, I was trying to show y'all the ropes before they hung from a rope. I like that line a lot, and it resonates with me because I get that impression from a lot of this project. Like, this project, if you are somebody who's on the verge of hanging from the rope, like, this is a project that really can kind of help pull you out of that dark place just off of the feeling and the not optimistic, but just off of the feeling of the songs. It's just hard to be depressed, and it's hard to not believe in yourself while you're listening to this album. And I actually have, like, I'll get real intimate and personal with you guys here. This album dropped when I was actually in the hospital. And so I was in the hospital on legal hold because I was actually in a psychiatric hospital. And I guess I'll be fully vulnerable with you guys here. I was in that psychiatric hospital for suicidal ideation. And so I didn't even know the album dropped. I'm a massive fucking Kendrick fan, but if you guys don't know, when you're in the hospital on legal hold, you have no connection to the outside world. Your phone is completely taken away from you. It is just you and the other people in the hospital and the nurses for however long you're in there for. And so I had no clue this dropped. And when I got out of the hospital, my girlfriend picked me up from the hospital and we were driving home. We get home and she goes, and I was like kind of venting to her about the whole experience and everything. And when we get home, she says to me, "Oh, well, like the bright side is you have a new album to listen to." And I was like, "Oh, what are you talking about? Like, what do I have to listen to?" And she was like, "Kendrick." She was like, "Kendrick dropped an album while you were in there." And I was like, "Kendrick, of all people, drops an album during this one tiny stretch where I happen to just be completely disconnected from the world. My favorite artist drops an album." So after I got over the fact of like, damn, I missed the whole, event and being able to talk to everyone about this shit. After I got over that, I was just excited to listen to the project. And so I have a bit of a personal connection to that line of trying to show y'all the rope before they hung from a rope, because in a literal sense in my life, I was kind of in that position. And when I got out of the hospital and had this album to listen to, it was extremely motivating, extremely boosting, and really just kind of helped me, kind of helped reignite that fire and like make me believe like, okay, I made it out of that experience and I am here now for a reason. And so this album in a way pulled me out of a really dark place at the time that it came out. So I heavily resonate with that line. But let's get into kind of the music in particular and why I say this is, in my opinion, one of my favorite Kendrick albums. Whether or not you want to say it's his best, I think Kendrick's albums get kind of blurry when you start talking about which ones are the best, because I really think which one is the best kind of chalks up to whatever your criteria is for best. And so it gets hard. But as far as just talking about subjectivity and favorites, this is absolutely one of my favorite Kendrick albums. One of the biggest reasons is it starts, in my opinion, just as good, if not better than any other Kendrick album, and it ends just as good, if not better than any other Kendrick album. When I take Whacked Out Murals and I compare it alongside the other opening tracks in Kendrick's discography, so United in Grief, Wesley's Theory, Shireen, Blood and DNA as the introduction to Damn. When I think about all of those, I'm gonna keep it a buck, guys. I take Whacked Out Murals over all of those. Wesley's Theory is hard. Wesley's Theory is the one where I can see myself being like, do I really like Whacked Out Murals more than Wesley's Theory? But if I'm being honest, guys, I think I do. Something about Whacked Out Murals, it just has this energy that we have never. I've been a Kendrick fan for a long time. I don't think I've ever heard Kendrick in that energy. Obviously, we've heard Kendrick Hungry. Obviously, we've heard Kendrick Snatching the Crown. Obviously, we've heard Kendrick, speaking about the industry and taking a stand against certain things within it and whatnot. We've heard all of that from Kendrick before, but this specific energy and this specific vibe of like I don't think I've ever heard Kendrick really sound like he just doesn't give a fuck. This is the first time I've ever heard him sound like that. Like, something that has been a consistent theme throughout all of Kendrick's music is that he cares too much, whether it's about his own struggles or whether it's about the world's struggles or whether it's about the listener or whoever. Like, a common theme throughout all of Kendrick's music is that he cares way too much. And this is the first time where I feel like we really get Kendrick in this essence of, I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck what you think of me. I don't give a fuck who's on whose side. I don't give a fuck what Wayne is saying. I don't give a fuck what Snoop is saying. I don't care that y'all are legends. I'm a legend now too. Like, y'all gonna have to answer to me too. And I don't know. This is just an energy that we have never seen Kendrick fully step into over the course of an entire track like this. Some incredible quotables end up coming from this song. Let me pull up the lyrics really quick. Okay. So some incredible quotables end up coming from this song. Yeah, so one of my favorite moments is when Kendrick does the reference to Let Nas Down, right? Like he says that I used to bump the car to 3, held my rolly chain proud. Irony, I think my hard work let Lil Wayne down. Whatever though. Call me crazy, everybody questionable. And then he goes on, he says the Snoop line about Taylor Made, which I think was the perfect way he could have addressed that whole Snoop situation. And then he goes into Then he goes into saying, won the Super Bowl, and Nas the only one congratulate me. Um, so I just love that whole stanza, that whole set of bars, because it feels like it's making a direct reference to J. Cole's Let Nas Down. And whereas J. Cole was so disappointed in letting Nas down that he makes this whole track about it, about his disappointment, Kendrick let Wayne down. And rather than stewing in the disappointment of letting Lil Wayne down, Kendrick says, I just don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck that I let one of these legends down. Kendrick is really stepping into this embodiment of, I am just as legendary as all of you guys now, if not more so. And I think he has a strong case to say that he's more so. And he's coming from that perspective now. And it's not coming from a perspective of like overly cockiness. Like it doesn't feel like Kendrick isn't humble. It feels like Kendrick is still a humble person. It just feels like he's sick of the bullshit. And he's also giving himself his flowers and acknowledging what he has earned for himself. And he has every right to do that. I mean, when you work as hard as he did to get to the point that he's at, you should have a level of confidence. You should have a level of understanding your worth. It doesn't mean that you're cocky or arrogant. I don't think he embodies that at all. But it just means that he went to therapy and he understands his worth, and he's not, suppressing that anymore. He's giving you how he truly feels about himself. But yeah, man, Whacked Out Murals just caked in absolute quotables. I love the put that on my kids' children. We gonna see the future first. They like that big tripping. I just want what I deserve. And again, that kind of goes back to what I was just saying, right? Like you might have this opinion of like Kendrick's tripping. He thinks he's better than everybody. Like, nah, I don't think it's that. I think he just has reached a point where he's like, I'm checking off boxes motherfuckers have not even come close to checking off. Whereas guys might have checked off these boxes and not others, I'm checking off all of them. And he's just like, and I just need you people to fucking acknowledge it for once. And so, and I understand that. Like, he has created a discography and a legacy that is unlike anything we've seen in music. And so I do think he deserves his flowers for that. And I don't think that he is wrong for smacking us in the face and saying, I deserve my flowers. I think he has every reason to be in that energy. I love the way that Kendrick, talks about the beef in the wake of everything. He doesn't talk about it like he's still trying to chase off of it or still use it for clout or whatever. It just sounds like somebody who came out as the victor and is now addressing certain things that have been left unsaid or have been left without closure, and he's just bringing closure to them. And so I absolutely love the way he addressed everything. I also love Kendrick taking the stand of you better off to have one woman. Everything is tricky right now. That's not a stance that you are commonly going to hear in modern music. So I love him taking that stance as well. And then I love the exterminate him right now, make Cat Williams and them proud. The truth about to get loud. No juice inside of my cup. I sober up and knock them all off. So I absolutely love that stretch because Kendrick aligning himself with Cat Williams, there was an element to this Drake beef that was pretty dark and not as mentioned or not as talked about as much as other parts of it. And that element and that part of it was this, for lack of a better term, the Epstein angle, right? Like Kendrick very heavily implied, and I wouldn't even say very heavily implied. I would say Kendrick pretty much straightforwardly accused as much as you possibly could that Drake is involved in some sort of human trafficking. And I think that's evident with the crates in the Not Like Us video. I think that's evident with the Diddy reference, although it is bleeped out in this song. I think that's evidence there. But yeah, on Meet the Grams, Kendrick very explicitly says, without saying it direct as this, he pretty much explicitly says, you're trafficking people. And so that being the case, and then you think back to the Cat Williams interview with Shannon Sharp, and Cat Williams saying like 2024 is the year that all of you guys in the industry are going to get exposed, and it seems pretty obvious that he was talking about Diddy and other people like that. And so I think Drake kind of to Kendrick is lumped in that same realm of Diddy, and maybe Kendrick knows more than we do, and maybe Drake is more involved with Diddy than we previously know otherwise. We know Drake is not. He does not have like a saint, or he's not a saint. Like he doesn't have a super clean record, a super clean past when it comes to the people that he does business with, right? Like he is heavily tied into Jay Prince, heavily tied into the Hell's Angels. Like Drake clearly has no problem, no qualms about doing business with morally shady people. So for all we know, maybe he is more involved with the Diddy situation than otherwise. But I love Kendrick making the Cat Williams reference and saying, this isn't just about beef. This isn't just me shitting on a dude I don't like. This is me taking a stand on something that is important and bigger than me and being part of this expose of the industry that Cat Williams has kind of led the way on. And I love that. I love that. I love to close out my talk on Whacked Out Murals because we've been on this one for a minute, but I absolutely love that flow that closes out the track. The you ever ate Captain Crunch and proceeded to pour water in it, pulled over by the law, riding dirty so you can't argue with him to make it to be a star. Bare your soul and put your heart up in it. Well, I did whack the murals out, but it ain't no legend if my legend ends. That flow, and he's smart because he really only gives it to you for you know four bars or however many it is. But that flow is just incredible and such a perfect way to end the song. And it almost every time makes me want to run it back so that I can hear the buildup of the whole song again, just right when it gets to that point. Because that is the true climax. And yeah, man. So Whacked Out Murals, I cannot say enough about it. Like I said, I think it is my personal favorite intro in the entirety of Kendrick's career. And again, it could be recency bias, but that's how I feel. We can move on from that and get into the next couple of tracks, which is Squabble Up and Luther. Now, everybody remembers when we first heard that snippet of Squabble Up on the Not Like Us video. The woke up looking for the broccoli, hot key, keep a horn on me, deck of my seat. Um, Everyone knows, like, I was tripping about that snippet. Me and my friend Marco were here. No, we weren't here. We were at my old apartment, but we heard it and we were like, this is nuts. And we were just praying that he would drop it because we know Kendrick has a habit, like he did with the All Right video, of putting a fire ass snippet in the beginning of a music video and then never releasing the song. And I am incredibly grateful that that's not what happened here because I think Squabble Up is one of the best hits of Kendrick's career. I think the hook is incredibly infectious. I think the instrumental is both super accessible and super commercial while still being incredibly unique and incredibly fun. I love the Debbie Deb sample. I love that they gave you that quick portion of where you hear the full vocal snippet just to be like, it's almost like they're being like, yeah, motherfucker, we sampled that. Like, whenever there's such an iconic sample that gets used, it can always be risky from the sense of like, how much are you actually making it your own? And the fact that we heard this snippet initially, did not recognize the Debbie Deb sample, and then they just kind of let that vocal play out shortly after that first snippet portion, it was almost just like a this is what we sampled. Like be impressed, and I absolutely am impressed. Yeah, so instrumentally, absolutely love this song. The verses I think are crazy. Kendrick goes nuts on the second verse. The multis, the internals, the just the cleverness in some of the bars and the cadence and the smirk. Like you can tell he's rapping with a smirk for a lot of this. Yeah, man, I absolutely love that second verse. I love the hit his turf and get cracking, double back like a deluxe. That just takes me back to the beef of, when Kendrick was saying like, back to back, I like that record. I'm gonna get back to that for the record, and it's a reference to how Kendrick used Drake's own tactic of the back to back thing against him, but it is also in reference to the Al Green and Teddy Pendergrass album, Back to Back, and Kendrick used an Al Green sample in 616 in LA, and I believe he used a Pendergrass sample in Euphoria. So Kendrick knows what he's doing, man. Like there's layers to all of this stuff. And so the hit his turf and get cracking double back like a deluxe. Again, just wordplay that I think references back to that moment in the beef. And the hook, the weird inflection that Kendrick does, I feel good, get the fuck out my face. Like I love everything about this song, man. There's not much I can say that hasn't already been said about it. Moving on to Luther. Luther is not one of my favorite songs on this album, but it is still an incredible song nonetheless. I love that Kendrick and SZA are able to pay homage to legends that came before them while still keeping it with a modern sound, not feeling like they don't feel like they're trying to walk in the steps of a Luther Vandross. They just feel like they are trying to build on a legacy that he left behind while still keeping it themselves, still keeping it modern. Because this doesn't sound like a Luther Vandross song at all. It just sounds like a modern, more digital kind of R&B that is paying homage to Luther. But yeah, so Luther, one of the biggest hits of Kendrick's career, and I definitely think a song that absolutely earned its spot on this project. Now, let's get to Man at the Garden. Man at the Garden, I almost perceive this song as like Kendrick meditating. And to me, that is driven home. Kendrick meditating and giving himself affirmations. I think that part is important. I think the affirmations part is important because this song feels like one large affirmation from somebody who has worked really hard to get where they're at and is reminding themselves they deserve what they have. Something that really drives home the idea of this being like Kendrick meditating in a garden to me is the fact that you hear the running water and the running river in the instrumental, which I absolutely love. It creates such a cinematic atmosphere to this song. I saw a lot of people say that this song like samples one mic. I don't think it samples one mic. I don't even know that it interpolates one mic. I think it's just a very similar song in its nature and its progression and in how it builds. But I don't think that was actually intentional. I could be wrong. Maybe Kendrick did do that intentionally. But to me, it just kind of seemed like a bit of a coincidence that we got such a similar vibe to One Mic. But yeah, Man at the Garden is one of my favorite tracks on this album. Not only because of the atmosphere and the cinematic nature and the really grounding and peaceful kind of instrumental behind it and the way it builds, but also just because I think it's important. Like, obviously Kendrick is giving himself affirmations in this song, but I think the way Kendrick so matter of factly states these affirmations about himself, I think there's something to be learned in that for us as listeners. Is like we need to be stating our affirmations to ourselves in this exact same way. Like we need to fully believe everything. You can't just say an affirmation to yourself, and if you don't believe it, it's not going to work. You have to tell yourself, I deserve everything I have, and mean it. You have to tell yourself, I deserve more, and mean it. You have to tell yourself, I have worked hard and am not going to stop, and mean it. Like, so I do think there's something to be learned as far as ourselves go, even though this song is clearly about Kendrick speaking about his own affirmations in particular. But this is one of my favorites on the album. After that, we get to Hey Now. And Hey Now, I also love how Kendrick jumps from, banger to melodic track to mellow introspective track to banger. Like, we're getting a great mix of everything here, and it's not like it's all being lumped together at certain spots of the album. There's not a spot of this album that feels like R&B. There's not a spot of this album that just feels like only bangers. Like, they are well sparsed, well sequenced throughout, and I think they all flow well into each other, which can be difficult to do when you're dealing with songs that have such a different vibe or such a different aesthetic from one another. To get them to fit together is not always the easiest, but it's very well done here. But yeah, Hey Now, I think Dodie fits perfectly on the song. All the features here, actually, I was super impressed with, and I love that Kendrick was putting local, more underground LA rappers on this album. And if we're to believe what DJ Head is saying on like social media and whatnot, it's not gonna stop anytime soon. Kendrick is gonna be on the LA wave for a minute, which I think is really cool. I think a lot of people were wanting Kendrick to really do that for a minute, and didn't know if he was ever actually going to, and he absolutely he absolutely went full-fledged into it on this one, and does not seem like it's going to be stopping anytime soon. I think we're going to be have Kendrick embracing this his West Coast roots at this level for probably a few years, if I was going to guess, especially considering I think the Olympics are going to be in LA, the next Olympics. And I wouldn't be surprised if Kendrick performs at those too. And so yeah, in his city, why would he not still push forward the heavy LA and West Coast representation? But anyway, back to Hey Now. Sorry guys, massive tangent. But back to Hey Now. I love this is such a unique song for what it is. Like, it's an absolute banger, and it's one of the more accessible songs in the album. But a lot of it was approached in such a unique way. Um, for example, to be talking about a song that just knocks your trunk like this and almost sounds like dark instrumentally, to come on the hook talking about yen and Buddha, to come on the hook talking about yin and yang. And I see the lyrics saying I'm all about my yen. I thought it was all about my yin, like yin and yang, because he says in the next line, "Big face Buddha, get my peace from within." So I always thought he was talking about yin. It's probably a double entendre. He's probably talking about both. Because I think later on in the album he says, "Meditate over money. I see whatever." I think it's both. I think it's a double entendre, but I just didn't like how firmly people were saying it was only about money. Like, nah, I don't think that's the case. But anyway, um, extremely unique approach to be talking about Buddha and getting peace from within on a track that's this much of a banger and has such a dark essence to its instrumental. I love the cadence that Kendrick approaches with the "if you crash out, then you better break the backboard." Like, he just, again, he just is still experimenting with his voice, and just really unique and really cool ways. I love the way he throughout this album is using wordplay or references to brands that are specifically at odds with Drake. Like, for example, I put a square on his back like I'm Jack Dorsey. Jack Dorsey and Drake have very clear beef. I love the spaceships on Bankhead interpolation that happens towards the middle of the track. The starting to see spaceships on Rosecrans. I see the aliens hold hands. It's such a unique moment in the song. It's such an unexpected moment in the song. It's such a cool reference and interpolation if you know where it's coming from. And Kendrick still absolutely makes it his own and makes it unique. So, yeah, Hey Now, love everything about that song. Now we get to what is not only my favorite song on the album, but is probably like up there as far as one of my favorite songs in Kendrick's entire discography, and that is Reincarnated. And so I love, first of all, I love the Pac instrumental that was used, and to me, it almost sounds almost identical. It doesn't sound like they really did too much to differentiate it. Like, Kendrick very clearly wanted you to recognize this from the Tupac song, which I think is intentional. Again, you go back to the whole reincarnated thing, and throughout this album, he's making reference to Machiavelli, the 7 Day Theory. He's making reference to Against All Odds and Bomb First. I think he even had a Bomb First hat in the Not Like Us music video. But Kendrick very clearly wants us to pick up on all the Pac connection here. But yeah, so this first verse, he takes the approach of like this guitarist. I mean, you guys know, you guys have listened to the song. I don't need to go fully in depth on each of the stories, but taking on these different reincarnated lives where he was an artist in each one of them, and each one he meets a demise for a different reason or a different vice. And then now he finds himself currently as Kendrick Lamar. Now, great song concept off rip, just off that alone. But what really, really, really makes me love this song is Kendrick is taking this approach of rewriting the devil's story so that he can take the power back from the devil. And that to me is what really, really makes this song something that no one else could ever do. Because I don't know that anybody else would even think about that, to say like, let me write a song where I am a soul that is being, or a spirit that is being reincarnated into multiple, the hell is being reincarnated into multiple stars, multiple celebrities, whatever. And but this soul, this spirit is actually Lucifer. I don't think anybody would even think to write from the perspective of I am Lucifer reincarnated. And if they did, most of the people who would think about that, they wouldn't be doing it to change Lucifer's story and make it so that Lucifer's story ends with him doing good and trying to honor God. They would embrace, the evil aspect of it and be like, I'm Lucifer because I'm the devil, right? Like, so that in general, writing the perspective saying, I am the reincarnation of Lucifer, but not to be evil or bad. I am doing this to completely flip the story on its head and take power away from the devil because in my story, the devil is somebody who just wants to please God and was just failing to do so, and now is willing to do whatever it takes to do it properly. And that is just incredible, bro. Uh, incredible, incredible songwriting, incredible concept, and incredible execution. Because everything we just talked about doesn't even include how amazing the song builds. There is subtle instrumental changes that occur during different parts in the story that just really swell everything up and just really make you feel the emotion. And Kendrick's delivery and technical lyricism still, like rhymes are still absolutely on point, despite the fact that he's telling this incredibly complex story. All the rhymes are still fucking incredible and still stand alone, just as this is great technical lyricism even without this incredible concept and story. So yeah, man, I want to not spend too much time on this review. We're already hella deep, but Reincarnated, I think, is one of the best rap songs I've heard in a really, really long time. And I think it is a song that I'd be willing to say it's top five in Kendrick's discography, in my personal opinion. I think it's one of the best songs that I have ever heard. Moving on from there, we can go to TV Off, which the strings and winds were done by Kamasi Washington. I discovered that reading from the GNX vinyl not too long ago. And Kamasi Washington is actually littered throughout a lot of this album, which is really, really cool to me because Kamasi was heavily involved into Pimp a Butterfly, but that makes sense. That's a more jazz centric album. This album is as far removed from that as I think you possibly could be, and yet Kamasi was still heavily involved. And once you know that, you can hear it. Like you can hear the massive orchestral like arrangements, and you can hear almost the jazz nature to some of these songs, even though they are so far away from jazz music itself. But yeah, so shout out to Kamasi and his work on this album, and shout out to Jack Antonoff as well in his work on this album. Taylor Swift's producer. He was killing everything he was doing on this album too. So Kendrick has always been so good about making sure that he is putting himself in rooms with people who are going to help the album be what it is supposed to be as far as legacy goes. So I always commend Kendrick for wanting to be open to collaboration like that, because I think a lot of artists set themselves back when they aren't open to that collaboration. And I fall into that a lot of times too. Like even the album that I'm putting out this year, there's not a whole lot of features on it. I am collabing with people on the engineering front and on the production front and whatnot, but I think an artist can fall in the trap of this is my world and I'm worried someone else would mess it up if I let them into it. Kendrick has never really fallen into that trap. Kendrick has always said, I want to bring these people into my world so that they can help my world flourish in a way that it wouldn't if I didn't have them. And so that deserves to be commended. But Jesus, we are only halfway through this album, and I am rambling like crazy. TV Off, absolute banger of a song. Mustard is awesome. Kendrick is a genius for the mustard. That just fucking genius for that shit. And I love the Walk in New Orleans with the etiquette at LA yelling mustard, right? Like I love that setup so that when he went to the Super Bowl and said it, it was like he had already put that image in our mind, and then when it occurred, it just felt like a full circle moment. Um, yeah, there's TV off. TV off is a song that like kind of is hard to put into words. Absolute banger of a song. Again, genius for the mustard hook. The verses are exceptional as well as always. You expect nothing less from Kendrick. Yeah, I can't say too much about TV off that hasn't already been said. It's one of the biggest songs in the world for a reason. Dodger Blue is a song that I think flies under the radar on this album, and I absolutely fucking love it, man. I love the groovy nature of this instrumental. There is no samples in it either. It's a fully original instrumental, but it is so groovy. It's a track that feels so reminiscent of like Nate Dogg and Warren G and just that like G funk R&B fusion. Like it just takes me back to that, to just certain tracks from All Eyes on Me, or just certain tracks from The Chronic. And absolutely love Dodger Blue, man. I think it's a song that doesn't get its flowers as much as it should. So I'm giving it to it right now. Dodger Blue, absolutely incredible song. And then we get to Peekaboo. Oh my god, man, Peekaboo. I never thought that we would hear Kendrick go like full hyphy, full Bay Area banger on us, but he did, and I am so grateful for it. This is the closest like to E40 that Kendrick has ever gotten, and I wouldn't want it any other way. I think AZ Chaiki is the perfect feature for this song. I think the way him and Kendrick bounce back and forth, it's just the energy that you could. I wouldn't have it any other way, bro. I think he was the absolute perfect feature for this. I love all of the soul samples that kind of just play intermittently throughout the album. In this one, we get the a helping hand to your fellow man, right? That soul sample that plays in the very beginning, and I think that is a reference to XXX Tentacion's. I believe it was a charity that he was doing called Helping Hand or something like that. Um, I believe that is a direct reference to that. And if you guys don't know all the conspiracy about like Kendrick being in the X when he performed this at the Super Bowl, and all the connections that this song has to X, and the conspiracy theory that Drake was involved in X being unalived. If you guys are unaware of all that stuff, um, it's very much a thing, and I think it was all very intentional by Kendrick. I think Kendrick is dangling this in front of Drake, just as another thing. Like he said, the rabbit hole is deep. I can go further, I promise. I think Kendrick is dangling a lot of that rabbit hole in ways that are very obvious to Drake, less obvious to the rest of us, but still obvious to some of us. And it's interesting, man. It's really interesting. But the song itself, instrumental, is nuts. The Peekaboo instrumental is nuts. The hook is absolutely genius, and the motif of the Peekaboo. Like when I hear this song, I literally picture like Drake cowering in the corner while Kendrick's like playing peekaboo with him, and every time Kendrick does it, Drake like fucking jumps. Like I get that cartoony image. A lot of these songs give me a cartoony image when I listen to them. Squabble Up and Hey Now both do that as well. Even TV Off actually does that as well. And I knew as soon as I heard the what they talking about. They talking about none. What they talking about? They talking about none. I knew motherfuckers were gonna be on TikTok doing that shit. I already knew, bro. And so when I saw it happening, I was like, yeah, this he had to know too. Like this motherfucker knows what he's doing. But I love the line, like, peekaboo, I just put them boogers in my chain. Peekaboo, 80 pointers like a Kobe game. Peekaboo, 7.62s and make them plank. If you look at Kobe's stat, and you guys can tell me if this is a reach. I got it from somebody. I wish that I knew who. Obviously, the 80 pointers like a Kobe game, That one was obvious. Kobe scored 81 against the Toronto Raptors. No coincidence that it's against the Toronto Raptors and Kendrick is making specific reference to that. But there's another element to this line that I want to know what you guys think about it. So Kobe's stat line for the 81 point game. So Kobe's stat line, hear me out, guys. Okay. Kobe's stat line for the 81 point game was 81 points, 7 3-pointers, 6 rebounds, and 2 assists. Right? I'm looking at it right here. 7 3-pointers, 6 rebounds, 2 assists. So when he says 80 pointers like a Kobe game, 7 6 2s will make him plank. Obviously, you guys know what that is on the surface a reference to, but I think the 7 6 2 is also making direct reference to the 7 3-pointers, the 6 rebounds, and the 2 assists. Maybe that's a reach. But I don't know, bro. I don't think it is. Like Kendrick, it seems like some shit Kendrick would do. So it's some shit that I could see myself doing, and if I could see myself doing it, then why wouldn't Kendrick, who's I think thinks shit even more thoroughly through, why wouldn't he do it? So that's where I stand on it. But let me know if you guys think it's a reach. But yeah, Peekaboo, absolutely incredible. I love that Kendrick went full Bay Area, full hyphy on us. I think it's awesome. Heart Part 6, love it, bro. Love it. I love that he just said, I don't give a fuck that Drake used the title already. Here's my Heart Part 6, and it's better than that one. And I love that he told the story of TDE, and I love that because there was a lot of rumors of, oh, is there beef or bad blood going on between Kendrick and TDE since he left? I love that this song just kind of clears up, like, nah, bro, like, we're family, we went through it together, like, just because it's time for us to go our separate ways and grow in different directions does not mean that there's some kind of beef going on. But that song had just such a super nostalgic nature about it. It really brought me back to those old TDE days, which is just a really unique skill to have for a song that came out in 2024 to bring me back to those 2011, 2010, 2012 years of just early TDE and just really find that essence, but still it sounds so much more evolved from the music they were making at that time. Like, it's not like it sounds like the music of that time, but it still has that nostalgic nature and that nostalgic essence. And maybe it's just the storytelling, but it just really brought me back to that era. Super awesome, man. To make a brand new song sound nostalgic is a really commendable skill. But yeah, so Heart Part 6, highly recommend. Again, technical lyricism, storytelling. I love the sampled hook. I think it fits perfectly. Beautiful song. Beautiful song. Then we get to the title track, GNX, and a lot of people kind of hate on this one. It is my least favorite on the album, but I still fucking love the song, bro. I think the instrumental is like super, super unique. And again, the instrumental is like kind of nostalgic to me. It reminds me of shit that like my Uncle Donald used to play, like mid 2000s, West Side Connection is popping in my brain right now, but there's other groups, other West Coast groups that probably feel even closer to what GNX is. But it just feels real nostalgic to that mid 2000s, just purposely weird for the sake of it, but still hard as fuck rap music. I love the way this song sounds instrumentally. My only gripe with it is I wish Kendrick would have got a verse, but I know he did say on the Dead Guys, I ain't going. And obviously that has multiple meanings, but I think one of those multiple meanings is I'm not going. I'm letting them handle this business for me. I'm getting my shooters and they gonna handle the business for me. I'm not going, right? I think that's the whole premise there. And man, like everybody who was given a spot to shine, I think they really did their thing with it. I think they really showcased them and their uniqueness and what makes them stand out as an artist. And I love it, man. Hitta has my favorite verse on the song. That flow and that cadence that he catches at a certain point, just yeah, he did his thing. So Hitta J3 fucking killed his verse. Peso's verse is awesome. His cadence and his delivery and the way he says things, it's just it hits and it connects. And Young Threat, the fucking whisper flow and the whisper cadence at the end, not expected at all, and a little bit funny when it catches you off guard, but something about it is so endearing. And like charming in a way. Like it just adds so much character and so much personality to a song that already was so unique and already had so much character and already had so much personality. To just end it with a verse like that is just, you walk away from this song being like, there's nothing else that exists that sounds like that. There's nothing else that exists that carries that same energy, that same uniqueness, that same weirdness, but balanced with aggression. Like incredibly unique song. And I love that it is the title track of the album, and Kendrick doesn't even rap on it. Um, I just love when Kendrick. I love when Kendrick just gives a middle finger to like what you're supposed to be doing. Like he did the same thing with the Super Bowl halftime show. Like he came out and performed "Bodies," an unreleased song that we haven't even heard in full, as the first track to open the Super Bowl halftime show. Which again is just another moment of Kendrick being like, "I'm not doing what you think I should do. I'm just doing what I want to do." And for him to reach the status that he has gotten to with taking that approach, just super inspirational, and I love that. And now we get to Gloria. I said earlier in this review that Gloria to me was maybe the best closing track of any Kendrick album. Now, I don't feel as like matter of factly about that as I did saying Whacked Out Murals was my favorite intro. Um, but I do still think that Gloria is probably my favorite Kendrick outro. When I compare it to Duckworth, that's where it gets hard because Duckworth is amazing. But when I compare it to Compton, I definitely like it more than Compton. When I compare it to Mortal Man, Mortal Man is amazing. It's amazing. But do I like it as a song more than Gloria? I love how Mortal Man ties up the entire concept of To Pimp a Butterfly. I love how we get the whole Tupac interview. Incredibly unique. Nothing's ever really been done like that before. Mortal Man, I think, is a moment in time all by itself. But as a song, which one do I like more? I'm gonna give it to Gloria. Um, and then we talk about Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers' Mirror as the last track. I definitely like Gloria more than that one. The only real competition for me personally is Duckworth. And I'll go back and forth. Sometimes I think Duckworth is better. Sometimes I think Gloria is better. But right now, I like Gloria. Gloria touches like something in my heart that not those other tracks don't quite touch. Duckworth gets really close, but Gloria just an ode to rap that is just so beautiful, so heartfelt, so well done, but also is paying homage to Me and My Girlfriend by Pac. Like when I first heard this song, I thought Me and My Girlfriend Pac, he's rapping about his gun. Well, he's not rapping about his gun, he's rapping about his pen, but that just personification of an inanimate object that you feel indebted to or that you love or that you see as like a lifelong partner, that is heavily in line with Pac's Me and My Girlfriend. And look, man, we know that shit is probably intentional. I don't think any Pac reference or any Pac inspiration is ever unintentional when it comes to Kendrick. But yeah, man, Gloria, like it just touches my heart in a way that not many other songs really have, and it's a song that I can relate to like just at an extreme level. I just find myself zoning out and just being engulfed in the music whenever I hear that song. I absolutely love Gloria. I think it's one of the best songs on this album. But yeah, man. So, and the wordplay on Gloria too, the extended metaphor, the entendres, and it's just. I wish I could talk more about it, but I'm kind of getting talked out here. We've been going for a minute on this one, but it's an album that I think deserves uh, deserves a long conversation like this. But yeah, man. So to end it out, I guess I'll give kind of my favorites. I'll give like a top five. So Reincarnated absolutely has to be in there. Whacked Out Murals absolutely has to be in there, and Gloria has to. Those are my top three for sure. What makes its way into four and five? I think just off the nature of how much joy it gave me when we finally got it. I think I'm gonna put Squabble Up in there. And I'm wrestling between Peekaboo, Heart Part 6, and TV Off right now. I absolutely love Peekaboo. I think I'm gonna give it to Peekaboo, man. I love that we finally got a track like that from Kendrick. So I think I'm gonna give it to Peekaboo. So that rounds out my top five in that order. Again, could always change, but at the time of making this video that you guys are seeing, I'm going Reincarnated, Gloria, Whacked Out Murals, um, Jesus, what it Squabble Up and Peekaboo. I think those are my top five right now. But it is hard. Where does this rank amongst Kendrick's discography for me? I already told you guys I actually think it's one of my favorites in his discography. I'm not going to tell you where I actually would rank it as of right now because we are going to do a Kendrick ranking probably in the near future. And I kind of want it to be a surprise for then, for when you guys see that. But yeah, guys, so this is, it feels good to be back with the pod, even though it's rebranded and technically a different pod. Um, it is still the same structure and everything that I know and love. So it feels good to be back, um, and to get back in the routine of everything with this. Like I said, go join the Patreon if you guys want early access to the episodes, or if you want access to full episodes of Off the First Listen and Off the Record. And then it's a bunch of other benefits too. All sorts of shit over there on the Patreon. You get benefits, music benefits as well, not just podcast benefits. And for, I guess I should say, for those of you who don't know me, I kind of just talked this whole time like everybody watching kind of already knows who I am. My name is Kenny Moss. I'm an independent artist and rapper out of Reno, Nevada. And if you guys want to check out my music, I have 3 full-length projects out. Michael Kenneth Smith, Las Sombras, and Legacy. And I very recently just put out a new single this year with my man Got the Juice, called Cold. So please go check that out, guys. I have an album slated for later this year titled So We Shot Them Down. Like I said, the website is up, kennymossmusic.com. Sorry, guys, quick technical difficulty. But yes, kennymossmusic.com is up right now. You guys can find all the information that you need on me or my music, and the Radio Moss Pod, all there. The Patreon is up there and everything. I will catch you guys next Tuesday. We're going to be doing an off the press on the new Clips album. Go follow me on TikTok, Instagram, or subscribe to the mailing list. My name has been Kenny Moss. Subscribe if you want more reviews like this, more content. Yeah, let me know what you guys think of GNX. Let me know what you think of my music as well if you've heard it. Other than that, I will catch you guys next time, and peace.